Ah, greetings, B-movie aficionados.
Hello, welcome to Couple of Flicks. I'm Tristan.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Zach.
Yeah. Happy hot summer days.
Yeah. And happy Shark Week.
Oh, is that on?
Yeah.
Nice.
Excellent. So, before we get started with these three very, very random, very different films, is there anything that you guys have watched recently that you want to kind of like mention?
I started watching The Boys on Amazon Prime.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
It's a great show so far.
Yep, I love it. I watched it like all in like 1 day, 2 days when it first came out.
Yeah, I watched the first season during the whole lockdown experience. Yeah, that was good. I like that. It was funny.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I haven't watched too many movies between the last podcast.
Yeah. Well, all my equipment broke at the same time, so I've had a lot more free time lately. So I've been watching a lot of stuff. You know, most recently I've been rewatching all actually some of them I haven't seen, but so not all of them are rewatches, but I've been watching and rewatching the Gamera films, which have either of you heard of those?
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's like they're basically like they're kaiju pictures, giant monster films, kind of in the same vein of the Godzilla, Mothra, and all them. And it's pretty much like it's just like this giant turtle thing flying around, farting everywhere, and yeah. I guess they're made for kids, although they're Japanese and they're pretty gruesome considering that they're made for kids. But I guess I don't know, Japanese kids don't mind gruesome stuff, I guess. So
a lot of anime is pretty violent.
Yeah.
Some of that's kids ones too. Like Naruto was pretty violent, the uncensored versions.
Yeah, that's true. But they're pretty fun. You know, I've watched probably about 4 of them now. I'm watching them in order. So and yeah, and like I said, I hadn't watched all of them, but so a couple like 2 of the ones I've watched so far, I definitely know that I haven't seen before. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm enjoying them. I mean, they're pretty dumb, to be honest, but I mean, there's not much you can really expect. Ultimately, it just depends on sort of your tolerance for like cheap miniatures, and I mean, I love that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Did you get the big Arrow box set?
I did, yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, it came early. I was surprised. I was like, because I don't think it's actually been released yet.
No.
But yeah, but it arrived like a few days ago, and I was like, oh, nice, and it's pretty awesome. It's like I probably shouldn't have paid as much money for it as I did, but I don't know. For like, I had a weird sort of just desire to watch them, and I just was curious to see like. I don't know. I was just curious about watching them, I guess. So yeah, I'm enjoying them. So
Nice.
Yeah. And then aside from that, like the most recent thing I watched was this really unusual movie called Permanent Green Light, which is about this teenager who decides he wants to blow himself up. And yeah, it's kind of an interesting movie because like he's got a pretty supportive circle of friends who are actually like pretty okay with him doing this, and actually like yeah, but I don't know, it was very beautifully done though, like as a film, like it was very well done. And one of the directors is this guy Dennis Cooper, and the main reason I watched it was because Dennis Cooper is one of my favorite writers. He's a kind of a writer of subversive literature, and it's definitely a subversive type of movie, but I liked it a lot. So anyway, so yeah. What about you? Is there anything you can think of?
Yeah, well, in the same vein of The Boys, I watched the 2nd season of Umbrella Academy, which is like an adult-oriented superhero series as well.
Yeah.
which I like a lot just as much as The Boys.
Hmm.
Maybe The Boys a little more, but I like it really well because it has to do with time travel and shit, and
Yeah,
pretty realistically how they keep fucking up the timeline and keep trying to reset, like fix it, but they can't because once the butterfly effect starts
nice.
starts to roll and they can't stop it. So it's a pretty good time travel type show too.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I saw the first season. I haven't watched the second season yet. So,
Yeah,
but
the second one centers like around them, well, like the JFK murder and shit,
oh, nice.
because they escaped the apocalypse through at that time warp in the first season
Oh, okay.
that Vanya created, and they just go back in time,
Yeah.
spread throughout like the 60s, and it's about them like getting together and trying to stop the new apocalypse and shit, and stop the JFK murder and everything, and it gets crazy. It's really good though.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
I really love the first season, so I'll definitely check that out. So I am getting back into shows more and more, so I'm happy about that. So
Yeah, too many to watch.
I know
Yeah, so many now.
it's hard. Yeah, I hate being picky, but I have to be because it's like I can't just watch like everything that gets recommended, just
Right.
because it's too risky. Because like I'll start watching something and I won't be necessarily sure that I'll like it, and then somebody will be like, "Oh, just give it time," and it's like I want to, but sometimes I don't have time to give, like
Yeah.
Especially, like, Netflix shows too. They cancel them a lot after 3 seasons and shit.
Yeah,
So I hope Umbrella Academy gets more. I hope.
yeah, fingers crossed for sure. So.
But for movies, I watched Guns Akimbo.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was good. I liked it a lot.
So good.
Yeah. Daniel Radcliffe's the man. His American is good. His American accent. I didn't even like the first narration. I wasn't sure if it was like, is that him talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure enough it was. Like, oh, nice.
Yeah, I still got to see that one.
You haven't seen it?
Guns Akimbo? No, not yet. But
Yeah.
I do like Daniel Radcliffe though as an actor, so I'm definitely gonna get to that. So I did see The Hunt, which was good, but
Yeah,
That was pretty fun. I
Yeah.
think Guns Akimbo is on Prime right now.
yeah, I think
Just
so.
got
I think
added.
I
Oh,
saw
nice.
it there. So yeah, I'll probably watch that like I don't know, sometime probably pretty soon. So, but
oh yeah, it's a fun one.
yeah. All right, so let's get started here. So
All right.
So the first film that was chosen was, well, I guess it wasn't the first, but the one that I chose, the one we're going to start with in this episode, is called Legacy of Rage, and it stars Brandon Lee. And the reason I chose it was because I've watched several of Brandon Lee's films, and I find them pretty silly and pretty funny and cheesy. And I this was one I hadn't seen yet, and so I picked it kind of in the hopes that it would kind of follow in the same sort of vein as his other films like Showdown in Little Tokyo and Laser Mission and all these other cheesy crappy movies that he's been in. So I was hoping it would be cheesy in the same way, and it didn't disappoint. I mean, so the plot, it relatively standard for the type of movie it is. It's this guy who really sucks at avoiding conflict, basically. And his brother, so he has this, I guess it's his girlfriend or his wife. I always lose track of the marital status of the relationship. Yeah. But she's so basically he's got this brother who is kind of a crooked fella, and his brother gets jealous of their
That
relationship.
was his brother?
Yeah, I think so, wasn't it?
I thought it was just his friend.
Yeah, pretty sure it was his brother. I think he mentioned that a few times, I believe. But, yeah. But if it was his friend, then yeah, I apologize for those who care. But generally with movies like this, it doesn't really matter, Anyway, so his buddy has a thing for his girl, or his brother has a thing for his girl, and of course he decides to set up a little bit of an elaborate kind of double cross involving a framed assassination that was a bit of a convoluted setup, but
Yeah.
you know, I guess
You
it
get
doesn't.
real lucky with that.
Yeah. But somehow, basically through a series of rather unfortunate coincidences, he gets arrested for murder and locked away for 8 years, during which time his brother decides to pursue his wife slash girlfriend slash significant other.
Baby mama now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's sort of something that you discover. Turns out she's pregnant with Brandon Lee's baby. So, but he pursues her, and of course she's like, no, I ain't having any of this. And so she tries to flee him, and so he chases her, and I thought that they were gonna try and pull one of the Story of Ricky type of thing, where I thought that he was gonna end up chasing her off a roof. Because that was one of the funniest things about that movie, Story of Ricky. Was I remember that his girlfriend gets chased by these guys who are trying to, you know, ravage her, so to speak, this gang of thugs, and they end up chasing her right off a roof. Like, she jumps off a roof in order to escape them, and she dies. So yeah. But in this movie that doesn't happen. You know, she actually manages to get away, and she basically she reconvenes with this other fellow who's like an associate of Brandon Lee's character, and they kind of pair up and flee the country.
Yeah, some old creeper dude that was just like had a crush on something on her as well. Like,
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did kind of get the impression that he was like into her as well, you know, because like he was kind of flirtatious with her and all this stuff. But in the end, he doesn't end up doing anything. You know, in the end, he ends up pretty much just like assuming the role of like the husband, you know, just because that's kind of like, that's what she needs, since now her boyfriend's locked away. And so they travel to whatever country. It's been like a week and a half since I watched this movie, so I don't remember exactly. Brazil, yeah. And so they're kind of there.
Yeah, they're fleeing from the bad dude.
Yeah.
They're in the mob or whatever.
Exactly. And he's got connections like crazy,
Yep.
you know. And meanwhile, Brandon Lee is in prison, and while he's in prison, he manages to establish a pretty good kinship with this gentleman who's rather graciously referred to throughout the film as Four Eyes.
I love him too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Definitely the best character in the movie.
Yeah. I also noticed, I wrote down like, oh, he got a better haircut in prison.
Yeah.
One of the first things that I noticed was like, oh, he has a goofy fucking haircut when he was out there. He had like a bowl cut.
Yeah. Brandon Lee's basically the hairstyles in this movie are rather questionable, you know, for sure, just in general. But he's his buddy there in the prison. He's kind of a short fella. He's got glasses, you know, hence the nickname Four Eyes, and he gets, you know, picked around and kind of pushed around in prison. But Brandon Lee ends up getting his back, you know, and which leads to a couple of rather like kind of anticlimactic little tiffs here and there.
Yeah, a bunch of white dudes too.
Yeah, like the fights
in English.
Yeah, and Brandon Lee, I mean, during the time of this movie was made, it was obvious that his English wasn't very good, but at least he attempts to at least try and communicate. You know, by the time he was in The Crow, his English got significantly better, so that's good. But in this movie, I mean, they definitely. I think what they should have just not even bothered having any of the characters speak English. They should have just had them all speak one language, you know, because it ended up sort of being a bit like inconsistent, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't really clear exactly where everybody was from. So,
Yeah, I was confused.
yeah. So let's see. Then what happened? Oh yeah, Brandon Lee, you know, he gets into some fights here and there, and the fights aren't super. I mean, they're not horrible. They're just kind of brief, you know. Probably the best sort of fight scene happens early on, which is actually kind of cool. He gets into a fight with Bolo Young of all people, which is somebody who his father Bruce Lee fought. Or no, actually he didn't fight him, but he did appear in a movie with Bruce Lee. But but yeah, he gets into a fight with Bolo Young kind of early on in the movie.
That was a cool one.
Yeah, that was cool. That was really funny too
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
yeah, Brandon Lee, he's kind of like this waiter person. Yeah,
He's
and
working 2 jobs.
yeah, he's a working man.
Yeah.
You know, he's trying to steer clear of the dirty business that his brother / buddy is involved in. You know, and this Bolo Young character just he can't stop messing with him, picking on him, which I don't really know why. Because Brandon Lee, like, he's kind of like I like, at least in my opinion, like, he was kind of an intimidating looking guy, and of course Bolo Young, his muscles are probably bigger than my entire head, so maybe, you know, Bolo Young doesn't have a problem picking on, you know, really muscular, intense kind of looking people, but whatever. Anyway, you could pretty much predict how that fight goes. And he gets into a few more tiffs in prison and ends up having to get isolated. And I think
like-
even one of the guards is like, "Oh, you know, you shouldn't be here," but whatever. What were you about to say?
I was gonna say I love the sound effects of the punches. They sound like someone just slapping a phone book.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. So let's see. So I've got this right so far, right?
Yeah,
Is-
yeah.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
before like the 8-year skip, he does find out, like, people find out that it was a setup.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah, it pretty much eventually it becomes common knowledge by, like, pretty much everybody, even the prison guards, which, you know, then you have to wonder, like, why does he have to still be in prison for 8 years? But, you know, I mean, sometimes just some systems are really strict like that and whatever. So the film jumps ahead 8 years. Let's see. His girl.
And that was like the whole, all the way to the jumps ahead, like most of the movie too. It was
Yeah.
really drawn out till that point.
Yeah, the first 2/3 of the movie are pretty slow. Like, basically everything I just described is what the first 2/3 of the film consist of, you know.
Yeah.
And then the third act is when it pretty much becomes like nonstop action. Like, it basically turns into a video game cutscene afterward. So she travels back to the country, you know, from Brazil, with this person who's, you know, playing husband. And by this point she has a kid, and they go to a hotel, and right away the brother spots her.
Yeah, he just happens to be there.
Yeah. Which is like the ultimate coincidence.
Mhm.
And so then it turns into a big chase scene, and somewhere in the midst of that, her husband gets killed. Actually, there was one funny part where, like, so after Brandon Lee gets out of prison, he goes back to working, you know, the odd jobs and doing the labor work and stuff, and he's working at a gas station right pretty much the day after he gets out of prison, and he's pumping gas, and of course his brother shows up, and they have a bit of a stare down, you know, and they don't exchange words or anything. It's kind of like a like, I know you screwed me over, you know. He gives him one of those, you know. Brandon Lee does a lot of the dead stares in this movie. Whoever like operated the camera in this movie really, really loves Brandon Lee's face, because we get a lot of close-ups of him just giving the dead stare look, you know. And of course Brandon Lee, you know, he's a very handsome fellow, so of course I'm sure the audience isn't going to complain about that kind of thing. But it is kind of funny though, because like you'd think that, because it was kind of a perfect opportunity to actually take him down, because there wasn't anybody else other than like some lady in the car with him, you know. But instead he decides to be the good guy, despite the fact that he was just locked away for 8 years because of this fella. So whatever. And so then it all kind of turns into this situation where his brother kidnaps his girl and his son. And and he doesn't even know he has a son yet too. That's another thing. And I think somewhere in the middle of that too, Brandon Lee and his wife, they touch base. They kind of reconvene, but they don't have a whole lot of time because she's, trying to be on the down low. And of course his brother is a dangerous guy. So it's like kind of a high risk situation, but eventually she and her son end up getting kidnapped. And that's when he and I feel bad for calling him it, but the movie doesn't really give him any other name, but he and Four Eyes end up sort of pairing up. And actually it just occurred to me, like, we don't even know why the guy with the glasses, the Four Eyes character, was even in prison.
He does say he's an arms dealer. He was an arms dealer.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that part.
Yeah.
But that actually that makes sense now, because actually that's perfect, because then he ends up sort of providing him with all this weaponry.
Yeah, the little line of I got a couple things, and it's like a whole fucking cargo container of guns.
So there you go. And after his brother kidnaps his wife and kid, there's this hilarious scene where he tries to kill him, and it's like this big car chase scene where all this stuff is exploding. It's great. And he ends up having to hide in sort of like this chicken area, which it was actually pretty cool. Like, because he ends up sort of like, in order to kind of get the thugs off his trail, he ends up just sort of opening all the latches, so the chickens are flying everywhere and they can't find him, and he escapes out the back. So it's like, ooh, nice. Yeah. And then it pretty much leads to this pretty epic climax, which pretty much unfolds the way most Brandon Lee films unfold, where he and some other person pair up to take down the very seemingly unlimited amount of thugs that are trying to kill them. And eventually the guy, his partner, ends up getting injured, and I think he even ends up getting killed in this one too, but I can't remember exactly.
I don't think, no, because I remember at the end there was that stupid fucking, like, because at the end they were definitely like, because the first 2/3 were so long, they were going real fast.
Yeah.
And there was just that, like, was still images of like him and Four Eyes and his kid. They were getting on the boat, and it was like a little slideshow.
They were trying to be all sentimental. And it was like, and it ends up being kind of tragic because, unfortunately, and I guess it's to be expected with these kinds of movies by this point, because it does happen in a lot of like action movies and martial arts movies, but eventually, he does find out that his wife was killed. And it was kind of a twist, because at first you're not really sure, and then he opens the door and he finds her dead. So, and so that happens, and then there's the showdown with him and his brother. There's a lot of bloodshed. It's pretty satisfying, because you really do want to see these guys get theirs, because they've been nothing but douches to this guy who's just trying to be a good person.
Yeah.
And then he takes his son in hand, and they get on the boat, and his son is like, "Oh, what happened to Dad?" Because the old guy who was with his wife was in Brazil, like, he's dead. And it's like, oh, it's tragic, but at least he and his son made it, so
sail off into the sunset.
Exactly. And it ends up being kind of a bittersweet ending. Pretty much everybody's dead, but
good guys make it out alive.
Exactly. And that's what's most important. So I liked it. It was pretty much exactly what I expected. It was pretty dumb, but I still really enjoyed it quite a bit. What do you guys think?
It was a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah.
Expected a little more action, in that first 2/3, but
yeah,
it's still pretty okay.
Yeah, that's what my sentiment. It was slow in the first 2. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was definitely slow. That was the biggest problem with this movie, is that, like, it does pick up in the end, but by that point it's like there's about 20 minutes left. There's only so much ground they can cover. They kind of have to summarize things really fast. And then it's mostly just a lot of death. And
a lot more gunplay than I was expecting. I thought it was going to be some fist fights and shit.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was kind of bummed out about, was there just weren't a lot of, they're just generally Brandon Lee's movies for whatever, like I don't know, he doesn't seem to, he was never really as into the martial arts stuff as his dad was. He was more into the gunplay and the weaponry, and there's always like a few moments in his films where he does some hand-to-hand stuff, or even like maybe like a couple like knife throwing things or whatever. But yeah, for the most part, I think he was always more into the arms and the big guns and the overall sort of pyrotechnics and explosions and all that stuff. He was more into that sort of thing than he was into the sort of like like kung fu and
Yeah.
all that. So
I was gonna watch Rapid Fire after, but I didn't have time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rapid Fire's like, I'd say Rapid Fire is probably about on par. I'd say both are better than Laser Mission in my opinion. And then Showdown in Little Tokyo is like, it's fun, but it's also really dumb. Like, but yeah, it does have a great like line that he gives to Dolph Lundgren near the end though, which I think is kind of a famous line by this point. Because I think people have like kind of used the clip where he says to him, I just wanted to say, in case we end up dying, you've got the biggest penis I've ever seen on another man.
Wow.
And then Dolph Lundgren's like, thank you.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, kudos for delivering a line like that with a straight face.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this one was a little on the nose too, but I guess a lot of martial arts movies are like.
Mm,
The very first scene was like a save the cat moment kind of thing where he
yeah.
saved this little girl from, well, not really saved her, but grabbed her and chased down the bus she missed and reunited her with her family. It was like,
That was
just there.
hilarious.
It was just there, like, oh, this is just to prove he's a nice guy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I had to put a save the cat moment in.
Yeah, I loved that. That was so funny.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like, yeah, the movie really wants you to like, the movie didn't even have to do that much to make you root for him, but it really wanted to go like above and beyond to ensure that you want this guy to make it. So
Yeah. And there was one thing I went on a little part I found funny was the fucking because he told Four Eyes to stay back, but then he pops out of the back of the Jeep he was in the car chase with.
yeah.
Saves him from the grenade, which they tossed a grenade in the back, and
Oh yeah.
Brendan couldn't get to it, and it took forever for the grenade to go off because
Yeah.
Four Eyes like grabbed it, chucked it, and like the first, because there was one grenade, it went off real quick,
Yeah.
and the second one took forever to go off for whatever reason.
Yeah. Actually, this movie, to be honest, it actually kind of reminded me of Surf Ninjas, like because like that scene reminded me of Surf Ninjas, and then there were a couple other parts that reminded me of it too. And so it kind of got me wondering if Surf Ninjas was inspired by Brandon Lee movies. Like,
Maybe.
Wouldn't be surprised.
yeah. I'd say, as far as like being a movie like that sort of like, because I feel like this was like either his first or like one of his first. As far as being a movie that sort of introduces a new action star, like, I mean, it definitely overcompensates on the heroic end of things for sure. But even though Brandon Lee like wasn't really that much of an actor, I mean, he was pretty much like going off of his sheer charisma, which can definitely like get an actor like that like far in movies like this. I'd say as being like a showcase for Brandon Lee, like it was like not a bad way to start an action career. I'd say like, it could have been a lot worse. I guess. I guess that's my overall impression of the movie is like, since I've seen so many like atrocious martial arts movies and really cheesy like 80s and 90s action movies, that I feel like if I weigh this against a lot of those, like this one comes out, mostly all right.
Yeah, it's like a mid-tier.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'd say I put it sort of in the yellow range. So maybe yellow green, you know, kind of lower. sort of-
Yeah.
not quite orange, but eh.
And red's the good one then.
Yeah,
Red's
I'd
good.
say red is like the top tier action movies. Yellow is like nah, and then like when you get lower, the purple, brown, black, like oh, that's when you're in trouble. That's like when you're like that's the pocket ninja territory. You know, which is to me that's territory that I think most action filmmakers should really try not to trespass because yeah. Ugh. Anyway. So I don't know. You guys have any more thoughts about it? Or-
Not too much.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, I'd probably like. Yeah, I think yellow. I guess yeah, 3 for me. So I'd rewatch it again. I'd rewatch it. I think if I like in the future, if I were with somebody who was like, hey, do you know any really dumb like action movies that are like kind of fun and maybe not memorable but like enjoyable enough, I'd be like, well, Legacy of Rage is probably give you what you want, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I mean, it'd be kind of a weirdly specific thing for somebody to ask for from an action movie is something that's like okay.
Right.
Like I don't know many people who'd be like, do you know of any okay action movies? You know? But if I ever meet anybody that is looking for, you know, moderate level action movies, this would probably be one I would recommend. So,
Nice. I'd probably give it like a 2.
yeah,
It's because it was just so slow in the beginning.
yeah,
Hard to get over that.
yeah,
Yeah, I gave it a 2.5.
yeah,
Basically just for the end.
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. The third act is definitely the highlight. You know, even though it happens really fast and it's, you know, a little bit like hectic, I'd still say that's probably the strongest part of the movie, you know. And I think the main reason I enjoyed the first 2/3 is because like it's enjoyable to me to watch like a movie that pretty much just like is almost like a checklist of like cliches, and you know, it was kind of fun like sort of having all those sort of expectations kind of fulfilled. And also it was funny to watch Bolo Young get his ass whooped by Brandon Lee. Like,
Yeah.
I gotta admit that was really funny.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting him to show up.
Yeah, I know. Neither was I. I had no idea he was in this. I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, ooh, you know. So, anyway, so yeah, Legacy of Rage. So the next movie was your pick.
My pick.
Yeah.
It was Milk Money.
Yeah. And do you want to be the unlucky bastard who has to describe the plot?
I guess.
All right.
So this is a coming of age ish, but more of a rom-com movie.
Yeah.
But it's still a coming of age
Yeah.
storyline with the main character. But
Basically, I mean, it's a family movie, it seems.
yeah, with prostitution at its core.
Yeah, it's a very interesting theme for a family movie. You know, it's
Right.
like you got to have a really free-spirited type of family, I think, to go to this one
Yeah,
with the
watch
kids.
this one.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
So it like starts out like the first line of dialogue was, "You ever fart and sneeze at the same time?" I had to write that one down. Just 'cause-
yeah, that was good. That's a good first line.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was just basically the kids
Yeah.
were, you know, having a little camp out in the treehouse and
Yeah.
shit, shining lights that look like boobies,
Yeah.
shining their flashlights and just joking around and
Yeah.
shit.
As soon as that line was uttered, I knew this was going to be a winner. So
Right. Yeah, and who'd have thought it turned out to be such a heartwarming tale?
yeah, for real.
Yeah, so that basically the first little part was the kids you're introduced to. The main kid, what is it, Frank was his name, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I had it written down somewhere, but anyway, yeah, he's the main character kid.
Yeah.
And then there's Kevin, he's a nerdy kid, and then you had the cool guy, forget his fucking name, the cool kid though.
Yeah. I think he was the one I thought was the funniest.
Yeah, he was hilarious.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot.
Yeah.
But basically, they're making a little time capsule thing of things they want to know or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Or when they're adults or when they learn that what adults are or something like that.
Yeah,
And, like,
because like these kids are like kind of like roughly sort of adolescent, or at least like two of them are, and then one is like one on the like right like on the cusp. I think like the main character is sort of the youngest of the three.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it is. Kevin, Frank, and Brad. Brad's
Okay.
the cool kid.
yeah, of course his name's Brad.
Alright, so Kevin, like one of them puts in a fucking diaphragm. He's like, he didn't know what it was. So,
Yeah,
but like fucking, I think Kevin knew what it was. The nerd.
yeah.
He was like,
He like mentioned it,
yeah,
and they
he's
just
like,
kind of blew him off.
Yeah. Like, no, that's not what it is. One of them puts in a fucking eyelash curler,
Yeah,
and then his Frank, the main character, puts in a picture of his mom.
yeah,
He doesn't know what it's like to have a mom.
yeah. Because his mom like died or
Died
something?
giving
Yeah.
birth to him, I guess.
Yeah,
Apparently, and so we find that out, and he's like, "Yeah, I just want to know what it's like to have a mom." And
yeah. It's just kind of
that's a
sweet.
little moment.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, aw, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then the next morning, we're introduced to like his life. He's like kind of an adult little kid doing his own laundry and showering and making breakfast for him and
Yeah.
his pops,
Yeah.
making coffee for his dad, who's played by Ed Harris. That
Yeah.
was nice.
I didn't
Nice
expect
see
him to
that.
show up. I was like,
Yeah.
ooh.
Ed Harris, hey.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like a teacher and also like obsessed with like saving this patch of wetlands that's in town. But-
Yeah. Which automatically made me like him because
Yeah.
I'm pretty into like environmental stuff, and so yeah, like out of all the characters, I'd say Ed Harris was probably the one I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah, he was
Nice.
complex.
yeah,
Not seeing him play something other than a villain.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I liked him in this actually.
Yeah, because he was like a little not absentee father, but like he was a little not the best, but like, he was like a good dad, but
Yeah.
wasn't
He was doing the best he could, but it's like it's tough because it's like his wife is gone, and then like he's busy all the time, and so like his son has to kind of assume some of the responsibilities of that Ed Harris would ordinarily have to do, but can't because he's like too busy working, and so it's like it's a bit of a tricky like family situation, but but they're working together at least. So
yeah, teaches them well.
yeah.
So yeah. And then it starts off with the plot, which is these kids, they're growing up into adolescence and they want to see some boobies.
Yeah.
So they basically get this idea of going into town, and because one of them heard that there's ladies that'll get naked for you if you give them money. So there's like a little montage of them pooling all their money together, selling random things. The fucking cool kid lets the girls of the school try on his leather jacket for like $1 each.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, there's a big
It's like,
line.
what?
He was like, they were just like putting it on, taking it off next. And it's like, okay. And yeah, so throughout this, like, also the main character, Frank, little kid, had a crush on this blonde girl who had a friend who was into Frank, but Frank wanted the blonde girl, but she was into Brad. There's a whole
it's like
little kid love triangle thing.
These young like middle schoolers, like it's like they don't know what they want, so it's like all mixed up and crazy. Whatever.
But yeah, eventually they get the money. $3.62.
Like that's a pretty impressive haul for
kids.
Three kids, yeah.
Right.
So.
And yeah, it's mostly in change as well.
Yeah. Hence the title, Milk Money.
Yeah.
So at least now we know why it's titled Milk Money.
Yeah. They eventually paddle their bikes to fucking the city. I think it's Philadelphia. They didn't really say, but I saw a Pennsylvania license plate.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
I'm assuming it was Philly.
Yeah.
And there's that funny little scene of them just going around to random women on the street, like just business women and stuff like that, asking them to show them get naked for them with
Yeah.
that money.
It's like one of them was like, if we like, what did he say? He's like, I think one of them asked if they were like a prostitute or something.
Yeah,
I
one of
can't
them
remember.
just straight up asked, "Are you a prostitute?"
Yeah. This little kid asking this
A
random
hooker
like
or something
woman.
like
Yeah.
that,
This-
and then some bad guy notices a bunch of like 3 little kids dangling a bag of money out
yeah.
around and kind of lures them into a garage.
Yeah. These kids are not discreet.
Not
so-
at all. No, they just have a bag of money flopping around, and
Yeah.
so this seedy character lures them into a garage to rob them, but they luckily happen to get robbed right next to the main character or the main prostitute that we follow throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
Played by Melanie Griffith.
Yep, Melanie Griffith's playing the prostitute. V
Yeah.
is her name.
Yeah. Which again, like as soon as her name appeared in the title in like opening credits, I was like, oh, okay, excellent. So this is like Ed Harris, Melanie Griffith. Like, so we got a cast,
Yeah.
Uh,
And yeah, she's hooking right next to where they're getting robbed. And,
yeah, and like this vehicle.
Yeah. And she, knocks the dude out with the door, but the guy she's hooking with just books it because he doesn't want to get caught or some shit.
Yeah. It's like
And-
some rich politician or something.
Yeah. So, they eventually go out. She needs the money because she just, lost that client.
Yeah.
And so they give her the $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, will you show us your breasts?
Right. So fucking weird too.
I mean, yeah, it's an intense plot for a family movie. I mean, maybe in the early 90s people were more open-minded about that kind of stuff, but
Yeah,
like
I don't think this could be made in these.
yeah, I think it
I've
would
seen
just
shit go, like
I
kids
know.
looking to hire prostitutes. I don't
yeah,
know.
I think just people just these days are just too uncomfortable with the idea of like I mean, the theme of prostitution in and of itself is already sort of a like contentious theme for a lot of people, which like I'm not bothered by the subject matter, but like I know a lot of people like don't really feel super comfortable with the idea of like prostitution just as a profession, so putting it in a family movie is already sort of like a sort of a kind of a risky thing to do, and then having it be also about children is also kind of is
Yeah, a little weird. I was like, I wrote down, is this okay to watch? I was like, oh.
I mean, it's a PG-13, so
It is PG-13.
yeah.
It's not fully family.
Yeah, like it's not like the kids are like being like really crude or anything. Actually, for the most part, obviously they do say some gross stuff, but it's not like, it's more just like innocent gross stuff rather than like vulgar. Like when I was their age, I said way worse stuff than they did. So
Yeah, I think they say shit a few times.
yeah, that's like the worst thing they say,
Yeah.
I think. So
Yeah. And, like right after that too, she shows them, but Frank, the main kid, hides his eyes.
Yeah.
Like the little good boy he is.
yeah, he decides to be a gentleman. Yeah.
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 And they're done with that. They're off the street, and she gives them cigs too.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, we're supposed to. Brad's like, yeah, it's necessity to have one of these after sex. But their bikes get stolen because they just locked them up in a random alley.
Yeah.
And then V's pimp, who's skimming off the top of his boss, who's skimming off the top of his.
Yeah.
She takes his car because she just wants to get out, and then notices they need a ride.
Yeah.
So she drives them over to Frank's house, or drives them all back home at least.
Yeah.
But then the car breaks down, so she has to chill with them.
Yeah. This is when the situation gets a little bit sticky.
Yeah,
So
because she's like driving around, noticing, oh, this is a nice little suburban neighborhood with families and stuff. Well, not what I'm used to, and
yeah.
he hides her in the treehouse, which is a nice little touch.
Yeah,
It's
that
like,
was cute. I was like, okay.
I got a place for you to
Yeah.
stay. And
Yeah.
they use the old cannon string for a telephone and stuff.
Yeah. It's very old school, you
Yeah.
know. They definitely yeah.
Yeah, and like she also noticed and says it looks like a boob with the flashlights on the ceiling too. So
Which I appreciated she noticed that.
yeah. And then so the morning comes and she's trying to get into contact with somebody, and the dad asks his son who is this lady, and he makes up the lie that she's a math tutor. And there's that, the classic misunderstanding, like little sequence that they're speaking around each other, but they think that they're both saying the same thing, using euphemisms and shit like that.
Yeah, because because Frank tells his dad that she's like a math tutor. And but then he tells her, and I'm not actually really quite sure why he did this, but he tells her that he told his dad that she was a prostitute and that he was okay with it, even though that's totally not at all what happened. He didn't say anything like that to his dad, but she's like, she's not really sure if she should trust him. But then when she talks to Ed Harris is like, oh, so my son told me what you do, and is thinking, oh, he told me that you were a math tutor. And then of course it's like a series of euphemisms and sort of misunderstandings and innuendo, and must be a tough job and all that stuff, just, which they kind of, it does start to stretch a little bit thin, but I don't know. It's like for a harmless well, maybe not harmless, but for a family comedy, it's like, it's kind of charming, to have the two characters sort of cutely sort of misunderstand each other, talk past each other without realizing it, and like having like this, I'm just picturing like a weird family in the theater being like, oh, that's so quirky.
Right. Like I like another little cute scene was him and his dad just having a TV dinner eating contest.
That was beautiful.
Oh, some gross looking food though.
It was. Yeah. It's like, ugh. No wonder they wanted to eat it fast.
Yeah.
And so eventually, I guess, the pimp gets killed eventually, and because he was skimming off the top of his boss, and he found out, and but he also blames V. And so she's has to hide out at Frank's longer, and then she plans, and the car is broken down and everything. So
and she has to pretend to not be a prostitute too.
Yep, which is like she goes out into the city with the kids at one point, and like she's looking all prostitute-y. She's trying to get dudes as well to get some, I don't know, some cash or whatever.
Yeah. And like two of the girls, like I forget, one of them's like, oh, that's very bad or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I don't even remember.
The blonde girl, Frank,
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny because it did kind of remind me of the way like a lot of girls like around that age tend to, because girls tend to mature faster than boys do, and so like naturally like a lot of girls sort of figure out a lot of this stuff like regarding like what like prostitution is and what all this other stuff is like, regarding like sex and stuff. And so it's funny to like kind of see them sort of like react in that way. It's almost like playing off of that, and so it's like
and they knew too. And like Frank even tells them when they first see her, oh yeah, she's my aunt or something. Which didn't go out too well a little later on. But, so like that. So this is actually the second movie we watched that has sex education.
Yeah.
This one did it way better too. So they're having Frank has a oral report on sex education he has to do. Yeah,
and his teacher doesn't help him at all.
Yeah, she's useless.
Yeah, she expects him to somehow like figure all this stuff out without even providing him like any assistance or any assurance or guidance or anything. She's like, you have to write about the female anatomy. It's like,
damn,
great. Now what I'm gonna do? So he ends up getting a Cosmopolitan magazine, which is not a good thing to read if you want to learn about like female anatomy, by the way.
Is there a place on a girl or you can touch to make him go crazy. That comes up. But anyway, like, so his oral report was awesome. Was so just amazing because they lure the teacher out by saying she has a phone call,
Yeah.
and then they bring V in, and she's like wearing like a leotard of some sort that
Yeah.
he like draws on her body, where like, and this is the like where the ovaries, where the eggs are stored, and here's the fallopian tube, and here's the uterus, which he said it's like a fist-sized baby motel. He calls it that, and like the teacher came back quick too, because it was just like, we'll call that, oh, no one's there, okay.
Yeah.
And then she's like trying to bang down the doors, and he's like showing them like,
Yeah.
you know, with a pointer where all this stuff is, and
Yeah.
all the kids are like ignoring the fucking teacher banging on the door. But
Melanie Griffith's character V just pretty much just goes along with it. Like,
she's
so-
digging it. She thinks it's funny, I'm sure.
yeah. Meanwhile, the teacher's like banging on the door, trying to find the right key. It's like, oh gosh, you know.
Yeah. And like Frank gets a bunch of clout now in the school too, because he's has this cool hot older lady. Like the first night she stayed over, his friends didn't believe him. They're like, oh no, you're full of shit. Like,
Yeah.
but he showed him, like, whoa. And even like the blonde girl was impressed with him too.
Yeah.
This hot old, like older lady. Yeah. But okay,
So then eventually there's conflict.
yeah, they go on, like V and the dad eventually go on the date. There's still a miscommunication going on.
Yeah.
And that leads to a funny little scene where like they're on they're on the date. They're on a date, and like the little nerdier girl was like, oh, that's his sister, like, or whatever. And the mom was like, oh, you could learn a thing or two about them, because they were real close. They were hugging, like real close, all smoochy almost. You could learn a thing or two about them. And then because she had a little brother, like, they're good siblings, they love each other.
Yeah.
And then they fucking kiss, and the little brother says, what does he say? There's no way I'm doing that.
There was some pretty funny lines in this movie, actually.
Yeah.
There was that one. Oh, I forgot about the one. Because at one point they're like, what was it? They're like, it would have like way earlier in the movie. She like checks to see if they have wires or whatever, and then she's like, "You're not hairy enough to be dangerous." And it's oh my god.
Oh yeah, tell them to lift their shirts.
Yeah.
You see mine, I see yours.
Yeah. So everybody ends up flashing each other.
Yep. And then so eventually, they were on the date.
Yeah.
And then Kevin's dad, the nerdy kid's
That's
dad,
right. Yeah.
he finds out that she's in town, and he used her, apparently. He used her services, and freaks out because he doesn't want his little life to get ruined over it. And he calls up his pimp or whatever.
Yeah, the head honcho.
The fucking Waltzer, played by Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a reappearance from him on this show. What was the other? Class of 1999. We saw him in before.
Okay.
And in this movie, actually, one thing I got to say I didn't quite like about it was I kind of felt like he was underused. Like, for being the villain, I don't know. He didn't really end up doing much. Like he was threatening, but
he's also pretty lenient too.
Yeah. And also he had a really unusual accent too. Like, he didn't sound the way he usually does. Like, because McDowell, he has a kind of like he's got like an English accent, but with some sort of like slight Russian sort of like inflections. But in this, he has a bit more of like a Cockney, like, "Oi, what are you doing?" like type of thing, which I just didn't sound right. I was like, what the heck? Like, you sound like different, and he's done that accent in a couple other movies before, and it sounded better. But in this one, it sounded a little bit like unrefined. So I don't know what that was all about. But, anyway. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
So eventually, I guess, yeah, Frank's dad finds out that she's a prostitute somehow. I forget exactly how.
Yeah. I think she, I think she might have told him actually.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. And that, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And like at first he's kind of like, oh no, takes him some time to kind of like accept that, which I guess that makes sense, but I don't know. It was kind of at that point I feel like he shouldn't have really like been surprised, because I don't know, there were kind of a lot of like obvious signs that were kind of pointing to that. And so it was a little bit of like a moment where a bunch of conflicts sort of happened and had to kind of get introduced. And so like, so she and the Frank character also have a little bit of like a dispute as well. And so
because he lied to
yeah.
or whatever.
And so he gets depressed, the boy, and he ends up taking the box, like the memory box or whatever, like the time capsule, and putting it in the trash, But then,
and she gave him a locket too that she stole for, and it was like, I'll keep it forever.
yeah,
But he throws that out too, and
yeah, I think because he just felt like it was almost like, because he'd already he already didn't have a mom, and he kind of felt like she was sort of like fulfilling that, and then she like is mad at him, and he like feels like sad about that. So
and he wanted her to marry his dad and shit.
Yeah.
Because what was that lady, queen or princess, whatever, that they both had in common they liked?
Oh,
And
I don't remember, but
I
yeah.
forget who, but it was some princess lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So they both like she like admired her, and he was always like, yeah, your mom looks like her.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
it's
was.
Gene Kelly.
That's it,
Okay.
Gene Kelly. Yeah, she's like, is she a Gene Kelly, Dad, or something? He's like, yeah, she's a Gene Kelly. And of course, like Melanie Griffith's character loves Gene Kelly because like doesn't she have like a picture of her or something?
Yeah,
It's
she had
like,
a picture of her
just like
on
Gene Kelly.
in
Yeah,
her room.
yeah, that was it. Yeah,
I think that's what like made
yeah,
Frank want them to get him and his dad and Melanie Griffith to get together.
yeah. And so when they like go into the trash and find like the time capsule box, it's like, oh,
Yeah, they see the picture of
Yeah.
his mom too. It's like, oh, I didn't know he had this.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
And it's like, oh, maybe this can work between us.
Yeah,
Maybe.
because and Frank did a little Cosmo thing too, a Cosmo quiz for his dad. And
Yeah.
that was one of the ways he got him to get over that she was a prostitute. She got a 98 out of 100 for you. And I wrote down one of the loss of the points was because the relationship started on a lie.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's only 1 point. Okay.
Oh yeah, you lose a point because the relationship is built on a lie.
Yeah, I thought that was a good little touch there too.
Yeah.
From Cosmo, of
Yeah.
course. But yeah, so then they have like
It's like a dance.
a dance.
Yeah,
The
there we
dance
go.
comes next, and while they're at the dance, McDowell, is found V tracking her down,
Yeah.
and the dad gets the car fixed after a while because
Yeah.
he kept putting it off and everything, but eventually after they got in a fight, he wanted, I guess, to make it up or do something real
Yeah,
nice.
because he felt bad
Yeah.
for like shaming her, basically, like for being a prostitute. Which
Yeah.
again, I'm not quite sure why he did that, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe that's just-
what I
yeah.
liked about this little rom-com was that there's always a fight between the two main love interests, but this one ended real shortly. Like,
Yeah,
wrapped up real quick.
I was relieved because I get tired of watching movies where like conflict happens for no reason and then it gets drawn out, and like that happens in so many romantic comedies. But
Like all of them.
yeah, like I think How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days was probably one of the worst examples, where both the characters are idiots and then they discover that they're both like double crossing each other, and then instead of being like, oh whoops, maybe we can put aside this bull crap and maybe work this out, instead they decide to get mad at each other for no reason. And it's like, ugh. But in this movie, they're only mad for like a brief period of time and then they get over it really quick. And
Yeah.
and I have to say, kudos to Ed Harris for like, not because again, I know prostitution is sort of a difficult issue for a lot of people, but it isn't for Ed Harris's character.
Yeah.
So
especially for a '90s flick. It was like,
Yeah, pretty progressive for
Yeah.
the early '90s. Although I could picture some people maybe getting offended by like the way like women are depicted in this movie, but I don't know. To me, it was so obviously tongue in cheek that I couldn't even really like. And I grew up with like 5 sisters, and so like I feel like I have a pretty good idea of like what generally tends to be considered misogynist, and like I don't know. For me, I didn't feel like this movie was really that bad. The only thing I didn't really like one thing I will say is like the Anne Heche or the Anne Hesh whatever and whatever
Heche,
character
yeah.
who's like she's basically this character who's like hanging around Malcolm McDowell, and she's another prostitute, and she does literally
Was
nothing
she a
in this.
prostitute? I thought she was his girlfriend.
Oh, maybe she
But
was.
I'm not sure.
I guess I assumed that she was a prostitute because she was dressed really fancy, like she was but she does pretty much nothing in this movie.
Yeah,
Like
she's just there for. She just says some dumb line, like she's a dumb blonde, but she's not
Yeah.
blonde. kind
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
but she doesn't add to the plot. She
No.
doesn't add to the conflict. She shows up. She says like, yeah, like you said, she says like 2 things. She's like a non-character, so
Yeah.
she could have just not even been in the movie, and it wouldn't have even changed anything.
Yeah.
But well.
Yeah. So they're at the dance,
Mm.
and Kevin, I like, yes, he came to the dance.
Yeah,
Like, they're all dressed up and looking fancy, and he's just a fucking mess.
yeah,
Because he puts 2 and 2 together that his dad hired V.
yeah,
So he's just like all like, I don't give a fuck anymore.
yeah.
He doesn't say that, but like he basically says that.
He's
like,
disillusioned by his
Yeah.
dad. Yeah,
Because his dad, like, he was like a neat, proper kid. So
Yeah.
his dad telling him, blah, 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 you have to be. And then he's like, my dad's a liar and everything. And
yeah. It's like my whole life is a lie. And blah blah blah. You know. Oh, actually, my other favorite line in the movie was also it was in during the like my 2 favorite line. The one about them not being hairy enough to be dangerous, and then the other line I really liked was the during the dance. Like there's like some nerd characters who are like sitting on the bleachers, and they see the Melanie Griffith's character, and they say like, what do they say? Now I don't even remember the line, which is funny because it was like my favorite thing. It was actually did make me laugh, but it was like, what are the chances of, or no,
it was something like that.
yeah, like what are the chances of something, or what do you, yeah, it was some mathematical, and then they start, so yeah, what are the chances of somebody like us like getting with a girl like her or something like that, and then they all get on their pocket calculators and start making estimates. So it's like what?
That was fucking funny too, yeah. And then one thing I did notice too, they had a lot of callbacks in the movie too, like in the very first scenes where he's like, in the shower before he's like, making breakfast for his dad and everything. He was like doing a little dance, and I was like, oh, this fucking kid can't dance. And he's like, and then like a minute later, he's like, I can't dance. I was like, oh yeah, no, you can't, man.
Yeah.
And before the dance, V gives him a little dance lesson.
Yeah.
And so at the dance, they rock it out on the dance floor. They're, it's that classic. They're the only 2 dancing while the whole party's, circling them, watching. And
Yeah, it's like it decided to become an 80s movie. I was like, ooh, okay.
And
lots of character arcs, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Like for the type of movie this is, even the characters that aren't even important get character arcs. It's like,
Right.
okay, cool.
Yep. And then, and so like even all before that, it was like when one thing was that when he told his friends that she stayed the night over, that he bet his jacket, the cool kid Brad's jacket, so he was walking around with a jacket, looking all cool, gaining the respect of the girls there, and like, and as he was dancing, he was gaining even more respect, and like the little blonde girl was like, oh, he can dance.
Yeah.
He can dance real well. After the dance, he goes up to the blonde,
Yeah.
gives her jacket, but goes with the nerdy little girl that has an eye on Frank.
Yeah, it turns out that Frank was, the film sort of makes you think it's going to be about the blonde girl, but nope.
He goes with the girl that likes him and has interest in him instead of the one that's superficial.
Yeah.
Probably say,
And
I guess.
It's perfect. It's like, yes, good going, dude.
Right, yeah. And then, so it more or less ends with
A chase
The
scene.
chase scene, yeah.
Yeah.
Like so.
Malcolm McDowell gets locked in a closet.
Yeah, that was fucking hilarious. I
Yeah.
love that. I was like, so yeah, he sees the car because his dad comes to the dance
Yeah.
with the fixed car, and then Kevin's dad calls her a slut, and then
Yeah.
they start fucking fist fighting and shit, and
Yeah.
the whole fight breaks out while McDowell's there trying to get V,
Yeah.
and then the kids help her escape. Lock him in a closet, and
Yeah.
fucking Frank's driving.
Yeah, which
The chase scene was pretty intense for this little movie.
Yeah, that part was hard to watch. I didn't like that. I was like, uh-oh. I mean, I already have kind of issues with car scenes in movies where I don't know if you folks remember how sort of negatively triggered I was watching Maccabee with the stupid alien things going like driving around like idiots, not knowing what the heck they're doing. But this was even worse than that because Frank he has no clue what he's doing as far as driving.
He couldn't reach the pedals and drive, like you see over there.
Yeah, and he's not even looking outside the windshield. It's like
he has to either be on the gas or look out the window, but
yeah.
Eventually Brad gets on the gas so he can look out the window and drive.
Yeah.
And they're telling him to gas brake and shit, and it's an intense fucking car chase for their little suburb town.
Yeah, I would have given the movie an R rating just for the car chase.
Yeah,
it'd been like rated R for an intense car chase. Yeah.
Mature themes.
Yeah.
But the car chase ends with them making it across a train track while the train's crossing. They make it, but McDowell's on the other side.
Yeah.
And the car blows up.
Yep. And wasn't there like it was because Malcolm McDowell was pursuing them, and was there like supposed to be like money in the trunk or something like that?
Yeah, there was money hidden in the gas tank.
Yeah. Well,
this is why the car wouldn't work.
Well, the money's gone.
Yeah, the money's gone.
Burnt to a crisp.
Or so they think.
Yeah.
And then eventually, they all in that part they go on their separate ways, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she goes back to Waltzer.
Yeah. McDowell gets arrested. Yeah.
Yeah. Does he? Because doesn't he? Or no? Yeah, he does. And then she goes to the Pope or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is the guy above McDowell.
Yeah.
And he lets her off. Just I don't know, because.
Yeah. He's like.
Yeah, because
you're good.
You were skimming off him, who is getting skimmed off by my pimp. So the money I'm saving you by leaving or whatever is more than you lost.
Yeah, which is, that's awfully generous.
Right.
Oh well, she gets away scot-free.
Yeah.
Good for her, I guess.
And so the dad. I don't know how it happened necessarily, but the dad was like, when he fixed a car before the dance, he said, I found out what was wrong. And he's running around. I did notice it. It was like, oh, it must be like his tools or something, but it was actually a bag filled of money.
Yeah.
And so I forget how the money gets into her hands.
Yeah.
But it eventually does get into her hands, right? Somehow.
Yeah. It was like, I don't know. It was it happened somewhere in the midst of all the crazy, the kooky situations.
Yeah.
So.
And it ends with, the dad trying to chain himself to the tractors or whatever that are trying to rip out the wetlands.
Yeah, he's willing to make that sacrifice. He's willing to go to jail just to preserve this one spot. Which is actually kind of a gorgeous spot, I must admit.
Yeah.
So.
But in the end, he can't because he has a kid, and he has to, not go to jail for him.
Yeah.
And at the last second, saved by somebody who bought the deed to the land, which was V with all that money.
Yeah.
And apparently it was a lot of money too, because she bought a nice car and a fucking in a donut shop or something in the city in that little town as well.
Yeah, she's pretty solid. Like she
must have made out with a fuck ton of money if she could buy the land.
Yeah. Maybe she's really good at bargaining.
I mean, she has the background for it. And it ends with the little line of her telling Frank there is a place where you can touch a girl to make her go crazy. Her heart.
Yeah, it's like,
Aww.
and that's the end of Milk
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah.
Well, for a family movie about prostitution, it was, surprisingly decent. Surprisingly well done. I mean, I don't know if I'd necessarily like throw the movie out as a recommendation to a lot of people just because it's like I know most people probably wouldn't feel very comfortable watching a film like this, but I don't know if you like weird like movies that are kind of weird in this way. I don't know, I'd recommend it.
I'd recommend. I thought it was cute.
Yeah,
It was definitely not what I was expecting. Cause
me neither.
I read like a little brief. I didn't even read the full synopsis. I
Yeah.
just like read, oh, some kids trying to hire a prostitute. Like, oh, okay, I'm choosing this one.
Sold. Yeah.
And then it turned out to be a nice little heartwarming tale.
Yeah, I didn't even know what it was about. Like, honest, I mean, I saw that it was a PG-13, and I saw that it had Melanie, or well, I didn't even know that it had Melanie Griffith in it. But I saw the cover, and my first thought was like, maybe this is like another like Miss 45 type of movie, like I don't know. That was I was like, ooh, is this gonna be like a revenge thriller or something? And then it ended up being very, very much the opposite of that.
Yeah.
It was a cute, family-oriented romantic comedy.
Yeah.
So
And it was the production quality. It was real. It was good. They had like a high def version on the streaming platform I use.
yeah,
And the acting was great, even by the kids.
Yeah.
Like, all the kids were good actors.
yeah, the kids did a good job.
It was pretty well written for a rom-com. And,
Yeah,
it had the tropes, but didn't like go hard into them.
Yeah.
Which I hate.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there were any if there was like a major criticism I'd have about this movie, I guess it would be like the fact that they want they make light of the subject of prostitution, which I'm not like against people like making a comedy about prostitution, but then at the same time they also like try to kind of take the subject serious in the second half where it gets kind of dark and gritty with the pimp trying to kill her and all that stuff. And so I felt like it was a little bit of like a disjointed tone between like trying to take itself too seriously but at the same time trying not to take itself too seriously. And like so like the first half like I think did a good job at being like lighthearted, and the second half did like a pretty good job at being kind of dark and suspenseful in its own kind of weird way. But it sort of, I don't know, it almost felt like the two halves of the movie didn't, I don't know, it almost just sort of felt like two separate films in a weird way. It just like the tone didn't quite coalesce very well. But I mean, that's the kind of thing though that I think the only people that are going to be bothered by stuff like that are people like me who've seen like a billion movies and so like end up getting sort of distracted by that. But generally though, like if it's the kind of movie where like if you're able to sort of be open-minded about the subject and the sort of tone they're aiming for, I don't know, I'd say it's enjoyable. I'd say it's worth watching. Yeah. What did you think of it?
It was okay.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest rom-com fan.
Yeah.
It kind of threw me off a little, but
Yeah.
I like the stuff with the kids, like the coming of age kind of stuff.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good.
It was.
Little genre fusion.
Yeah. I'd say the first half I liked more than the second half, but I still enjoyed the second half,
Yeah.
I kind of would say this was sort of almost like a precursor to like movies like what was that one that came out last year or the year before about the three kids who like it was like a comedy, it was like a crude kind of comedy.
Good Boys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it almost sort of felt like a sort of early 90s like precursor to that, although it wasn't anywhere near as crude as that one was.
I didn't
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
I want to see it.
Yeah, I like that one too. I mean, it was kind of silly and dumb, but it was
Super bad, but with kids.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
I'd say the way the kids in that movie were like the way the kids in that movie talked and sort of what their interests were like regarding like, you know, the opposite sex. I'd say that was probably done a little bit more realistically, but having said that, I mean, Milk Money is a family movie, so, you know, it's understandable.
And I liked Frank a lot too. He was pretty smart for a little kid too.
He was
I wrote down,
adorable.
oh, this kid has like more maturity and wisdom than I do, but
Yeah.
but he doesn't know how to fuck. So.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I'd give it a 4 because I liked it quite a bit, honestly. And I teared up a little too in the emotional parts. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's got watery at least. I was like, oh, that's cute. And
I did
all
feel
the cute moments.
I did feel a lot of sympathy like for him regarding like the fact that he didn't have a mom. I mean, and also just like, yeah, him getting sort of starting when he started having issues with the Melanie Griffith character. It's like, I mean, it's like the two characters in the movie that I really, really didn't want to see have conflict, you know?
Yeah, but it resolved
yeah.
pretty quickly, which was nice.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't dwell on it. I'm sort of divided between like a 3 and a 3 or a 4. Like, I think I'm leaning toward a 4. Yeah, I think I'd probably give it a 4 as well. So
I gave it a 2.5.
yeah,
Nice, yeah.
yeah, I'd say yeah, that makes sense. Like if it's definitely not one if you to watch if you don't like romantic comedies because it is another one of those like checklist type of romantic comedies. But I don't know. It was definitely different though from what it totally was not the kind of movie I was expecting it to be. So I was pleasantly charmed by it.
And one other thing that I liked too was just some little throwaway stuff. They were trying to figure out what V stood for, and like Frank first asked like Valerie, Virginia, West Virginia, and then his dad does the same exact thing too, like Vicky, Virginia, West Virginia, and it turns out in the end, spoiler alert, it's actually Eve. And she said, yeah, I dropped both of the E's in my name, so it was just V. It was Eve. That's her name.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
Twist.
That was probably the biggest twist in the whole movie.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's like, oh, her name actually doesn't start with V.
Yeah.
Yeah, Milk Money. Yeah.
Milk Money.
Milk Money. All right. So the third film and final film we're doing on this show is your choice.
Yeah, I guess I'm the oddball this episode.
Which is funny considering that.
My pick is Dr. Alien. Full Moon Features movie.
Yes.
Directed by David Dicatio.
Yeah.
However you say it.
That's how I pronounce it too, David Dicatio. I'm not actually sure how it's pronounced, but that's how I've always pronounced it. So. Yeah. I've seen a few of his films.
Yeah. I think the only other one I've seen is Creepazoids, which has a lot of references in this movie to that movie.
Yeah. I think I saw Creepazoids. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, yeah, but
it's another one of his with Leona Quigley.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I did see that one then. Yeah. I've seen, what else have I seen? I've seen a couple, I think I saw one of those stupid Brotherhood movies that he did. And then I saw Leather Jacket Love Story, which I'm not going to recommend to you guys, but I mean, personally, that's more my cup of tea, but I'm not going to throw that one around too much. And then there was one that I saw the cover for called A Talking Cat, ! That's the one I'm most curious about. But anyway, but Dr. Alien is what we're talking about today. So.
Yeah. So we start out with the biology teacher, which we later find out getting chased by some orb.
nice little graphics there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
And then
excellent.
Title card.
It was an intense little car crash too.
Yeah.
Well, they spent some
Yeah.
money on stunts here.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is some heavy duty, full moon we got going on here.
Yeah. And then cut to the main character, some nerdy kid with like a sitcom family.
Yeah.
I see.
Fucking hated that kid too. With his narration over the whole movie.
Oh yeah, I wasn't
You know?
expecting narration, but it was so cheesy.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know how much I hate narration,
I hate it
so
too.
as soon as the narration came up, I was like, oh, darn it.
Luckily, it wasn't for
Okay.
that long.
What was that?
Luckily, it wasn't for that long, but it's
Mm,
still there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he's in college, I guess, but it doesn't seem like college.
Yeah, I was confused at the very beginning too because they mention he's in college
Yeah.
and then they go to what seems to be like a high school. I was
Yeah,
like, what?
I'm wondering if they changed that last minute because there's like too much tits and sex and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit unclear. I'm gonna guess that it was like maybe. I'm gonna guess it was both. I'm gonna guess that he was probably like late high school that was taking some kind of like courses like at a university, is because it just seemed like everybody there just. I don't know. Nobody seemed very smart. So
They're
Yeah.
acting like high school kids, yeah.
And
yeah,
it was a
Shit like that.
sex ed in biology class.
For college kids.
yeah. Which I guess if their schools didn't decide to teach sex ed, then you got to learn it sometime. So may as well be when you're almost 20.
So when they get to class, they have the replacement teacher, Dr. Zenobia.
I just call her Dr. Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was like blonde, big tits, you know.
Mm. Yeah.
All the dudes in this class are, whoa.
Yeah. As soon as she walks in the door, she's like, just kind of strutting, and they're all just, yeah. It's like suddenly everybody's brain stops working at the same time. So.
Yep. And at the end of class, asks if someone wants to stay for extra credit. Of course, all the dudes are like, yeah.
Yeah.
Except for the nerd. I forget.
Yeah.
I don't think I wrote down his name either.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking nerd.
Probably like John or some generic name like that.
Yeah. But it ends up picking him, and for an extra credit was an experiment.
Yeah. She's going to give him a vitamin, which, when it comes to movies that we review on this show, if somebody's going to like take a vitamin, that's usually a bad sign.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, because let's not forget, body melt.
Body melt, death warmed up.
Hmm. I don't know what it is with vitamins, but yeah.
yeah.
Don't trust the vitamins.
Yeah. Yeah. Just take drugs instead.
Yeah. So he gets injected with this vitamin, and then sprouts anus-looking tentacle on his head.
Yeah. It's like making smooches too.
Yeah.
Butthole.
Making kissing noises. It's like, oh goodness.
And then the Dr. Zenobia basically rapes him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
his her assistant watches and takes notes.
Yeah. I mean, there's no other way around it. That's exactly what happens, like 100%. So.
Yeah. And then he goes home and wakes up as a douchebag.
Yeah.
Hence the plot.
Pop collar, sunglasses.
Yeah, the spiked slick back hair, and he starts even dressing like in fancy sort of like, strutting around like he's like Danny Zuko in Grease.
Yeah.
While he was sleeping, he had that dream with Leanna Quigley and Ginger Allen.
Mm. Yeah, it was
Basically the cast of Vice Academy. Which they showed up like 3 or 4 more times as like different people, which I didn't understand.
I guess, yeah, maybe they couldn't get enough people to act in this movie, so they just reused the cast members, I guess. Like,
Yeah, they were in that dream. They were at the drive-in, and they were that band at the end.
yeah,
No, were they?
yeah.
Nice.
Which I had to pause it at that part and take a break. It's just like, okay, Doctor Alien. So,
Yep.
because eventually you kind of have to like. Anyway, I don't know. I was having a little bit of trouble absorbing it all.
Yeah.
It's a little absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, basically the middle is like so repetitive. He
Yeah.
like tries to get his crush, and
Mm.
ends up getting raped some more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's very unfortunate for him.
Yeah,
You know?
like whenever that tentacle creeps up, girls just fuck him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then
Can't have
his-
him, can't need him.
Yeah.
And then his girl doesn't want him anymore. It happens again and again.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
It's
know,
actually kind of a tragic movie, really, when I think about it. Like,
I'm surprised she kept going back to him after all he was doing and shit.
I know.
Because she caught him like screwing people as well. So
Yeah.
she came back after that.
At least he didn't go ballistic and start shooting people with .45.
Yeah.
Uh,
where am I?
There's a car, there's some car, he sucks at driving, sort of.
He
Oh yeah.
Although he doesn't get killed,
There's a
so that's
race
good, I guess.
scene,
racist
Yeah.
bully.
Oh,
School
yeah.
bully.
And she's like, "You're not gonna do that," but he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
gets
was-
pissed at him again there
Mhm.
too, yeah.
Yep.
What were you about to say?
I forget.
Oh,
It's basically the same shit over and over again.
yeah.
I lost where my notes are, so
Okay. Well,
Yep.
I guess at the end, we'll just skip to the end, I guess.
I mean, there's not a whole lot to say ultimately until the end. Like the ending is probably the most interesting part.
And
So.
then the jock fight.
Yeah, there was that. So.
Oh yeah,
And he
he
gets
randomly knows how to fight,
yeah.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
and he gets like 2 more of these injections,
Yeah, the vitamin injections.
which he could have easily walked away from those last couple times.
Yeah.
I think he kind of wanted it the last couple times.
Yeah.
He gets with the jock's girlfriend too.
Yeah, which is funny.
Yeah. Because his friend character, dude, he was funny too. He
Yeah.
caught him.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care if I ever have sex again, as long as I can live vicariously through you.
Oh, right, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You know, which, him sleeping with the jock's like girl. I kind of expected that, just because like, although I didn't really see any other reason for her to even be in the movie at that point, so, but yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, he tries to find another way to impress the girl again
Yeah.
for like the 5th time.
Yeah.
So he randomly joins a band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were they called? The Sex Mutants.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's an excellent band name.
Yep.
Which right after he joins them, they all come over for dinner, which was a funny scene.
I liked that scene
Yeah.
when he was introducing them.
Yeah. That was hilarious.
Like the stereotype rockers.
Yeah.
So they play the show.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
it was a full music video too, not just
Yeah.
like a verse.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh god damn it.
Yeah.
After like the first part, I was like, oh, they're gonna do the whole song, aren't they? And yep.
Yep.
Sure enough, they did.
Yep. So
Decent song
yeah.
too.
Yeah, I was surprised by the quality of it.
Yeah, I liked it. It was definitely better than like the songs that what was that other movie that we saw that had there was like a bunch of music videos throughout. Oh, Cool as Ice. It was definitely better than the songs in that. So
And the jock is there for some reason.
yeah.
I don't know why.
I guess because at that point they were trying to kind of have something happen, I think, like in the plot. And
Yeah. And the Dr. Zenobia wants to get him again, and then you find out why. Obviously trying to repopulate her planet.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see that coming.
Right?
Which I don't know why she was fucking him when
Yeah.
she wanted other stuff to happen with like other males from her planet.
Yeah. I think
Right? Just to see if it works, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I'm not even I don't know. I don't even know if the person who wrote if the person who wrote the script even like kind of thought that far ahead or
Probably not.
yeah. The motivations behind what she's doing aren't exactly clear, but
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
I guess also the tentacle thing drew all females to him as well. So,
Yeah.
but she could resist it in
Yeah.
some cases.
Yeah.
Pulls her face off, which was cool.
That was
Yeah.
funny. Yeah,
That was good.
I like
Reminded
that.
me of Brazil. The
Yeah.
face stretching.
Stretchy face, yeah. And actually and sorry if this is sort of like tangential, but so like when I was watching this movie, like there were moments in it that felt familiar to me, and like I remember her say, like I remember the line about her saying like, "Oh, get me my proton cannon." I remember the part with the stretchy face, and I remember like a couple other moments throughout the film. And so like when I was watching this, I was starting to wonder like, did I rent this at one point when I was a kid? Like but I wasn't sure like because like nothing else about it seemed very familiar to me at all. It was but like some of those moments did, and I scoured the internet trying to like figure out like if there was like another movie where these scenes were in or something like that. It turns out like when I was a kid, there was some CD-ROM game that I played on the computer that had clips of this movie in it, and it had like the part where she's stretching her face out in it for some, and that like I for some reason like I remember that, you know. So when I was watching this movie, I was like, oh, that seems so familiar to me. You know? It's really weird, yeah.
That is weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But then after she takes her face off, it's a giant fucking blue head.
Yeah, like bug-eyed, like
Yeah, bug-eyed blue head.
yeah.
And then her assistant there, he grows an antenna.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, after that, she shoots up the club.
Oh yeah,
That's it, yeah.
Blasting. Starts blasting.
Yeah.
Starts blasting.
I don't remember why they stopped, but they stopped. And
To explain everything, basically.
Yeah.
basically.
They had to take a break from massacring people to explain more of the plot.
Yeah.
That was the laser beams are so fucking weird looking.
So bad, yeah. The effects. They
Yeah.
spent all the money in like the 2 car crashes. I think there were 2 car crashes in it.
Yeah, they spent the budget on the car crashes, the makeup on the alien, probably the main character's wardrobe at the end. You know, he's wearing the belly shirt, you know. And yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah. Skipped out on the visual effects.
Yeah.
So the assistant has the tentacle come up, and basically all of that experiment with the humans was for nothing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
Which-
okay, never mind.
Yeah.
We're going to Vegas.
Which that was probably my favorite part of the movie is the fact that basically it just everything became irrelevant all of a sudden at the end. Like I just thought that was hilarious because it's like, wow, okay, well, I guess that's okay. I guess I can accept that. So. I mean, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense up to that point anyway. So, yeah, it's like I guess this was like a situation where these aliens like were trying to do something smart and they botched it, but kept on trying anyway, and it just wasn't working, and so they gave up and moved on.
Yep.
And she wanted him to come back to the
Yeah,
planet to repopulate it as well, and he didn't want to go, of course.
no. Which who can blame him, really?
I don't know. I think I would go. Maybe. Just, going to a new alien planet. Why not?
Yeah, I mean,
how many people get to do that?
Yeah, good point. I guess maybe I would go as long as they promise not to give me any vitamins.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the girl wants him again for like the 5th time.
Yeah. They end up together,
Yeah.
I guess.
Somehow she's like, well, you've tried this hard so far.
I guess.
I guess I'll do it. So happy endings.
Yeah.
So, what were your overall kind of thoughts on it?
It was really bad and cheesy, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about how I felt too. So.
Raunchy 80s comedy movie.
Yeah. Yeah. 80s sex raunch,
Yeah.
which that's pretty much the only reason to see it is for the raunchy humor and the makeup effects.
Yeah,
Well, the makeup effect, I should
Can't really
say.
expect too much coming from Full Moon, so
Exactly. Like as soon as I know that a movie I'm watching is a Full Moon production, I set my expectations very, very low.
yeah.
So yeah, because most of their movies are crap, and this is not the worst Full Moon video I've seen.
No,
So I mean, I've
definitely
seen
not.
a lot of like, I mean, I've seen Beach Babes from Beyond. I've seen a lot of their stuff. I saw that Bloodstorm movie or Subspecies or Bloodstone, whatever. You know, like that. Just mostly just softcore Euro trash, but I've seen all those. I mean, I mean, a lot of Full Moon videos because my dad, like, he has like dozens of them on VHS because he used to work at an electronics store where they would get like various sort of types of media through, and you know, occasionally they'd get sent a bunch of screeners, and of course, like people would sort of look through the box of screener tapes and be like, oh, don't want that. Oh, no, Puppet Master 3. Well, you know, stuff like that. They'd kind of just sort of shuffle through those. And this might have been one that he had, but probably not. And so but a lot of those movies are stuff that I used to just kind of put on in the background while I was like reading a book or playing a video game or something like growing up. So a lot of Full Moon videos I kind of like grew up sort of half watching. You know, because most of them were just really bad, cheesy acting and stuff. You know, but I don't know. Sometimes I actually sat down and like occasionally they would catch my attention and I would be able to focus on them for more than half an hour. So
They're bad but fun.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if you're looking for cheap trash, it's, you know, it's almost like I kind of consider Full Moon Video to sort of be like in the same vein of Trauma, except not perverted. Like trauma movies tend to be. So
Yeah.
That explains it, yeah.
yeah.
Sums it up.
Yeah. Although this one was a little perverted.
Oh, no, pretty
Yeah.
perverted.
Yeah. I gave it a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what I gave it to.
Yeah. I think that's what I'd give it as well. Yeah. 3. Yeah. 3 is about right. So I'd watch it again, I think, if I was in the mood to get drunk and watch something dumb.
Yeah.
So it's kind of perfect material for that. So yeah. So Dr. Alien.
Dr. Alien.
Yeah, it's as far as cheap crap goes, it's, you know, pretty solid piece of cheap crap. So
Yep.
yeah. All right. And that, I guess, concludes the episode. So do you have it? Do you know what you want to, do either of you know what you want to choose for next week's? I think I know what I want. So.
I got 2 picks again.
Okay. Do you want to do a coin flip?
I like the coin flip idea.
Yeah, I do too, actually. Let's see. Do I have, I think I have coins. So what are the 2 choices? Like, or
So-
you don't have to tell me the title or anything, but.
We got the horror comedy again from last
Oh,
time.
yeah. Okay.
And then martial arts horror.
Okay. Cool.
I guess.
I can't seem to find any coins. Do you have any? All right.
I'll have to remember it next time.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, do you want me to just say what my choice is?
Yes.
Okay. So the film that I chose for us to watch. It's something I've actually already seen, but I saw it like at least 2 decades ago. So if not even longer ago than that, it's a movie called My Boyfriend's Back. And yes, it is a romantic comedy. However, it's also a zombie movie. So this is pre-Warm Bodies, and pre-Shaun of the Dead. So that's my choice. It's My Boyfriend's Back.
I have heard of that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it when I was like maybe 7. And I remember really like enjoying it a lot, but I have a feeling it probably hasn't held up that well, but I still want to watch it anyway, or rewatch it. Just, I don't know. I remember it being kind of a cheesy, like sort of more on the cheesy side. So I'll give it, yeah.
I chose Just One of the Guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Have you seen it or no?
No.
I haven't seen it. I ordered it a long time ago, but it got lost in the mail, so I never got it.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit. Well, here's your chance now.
Yeah.
Well.
All right. Well, I got a coin. So.
Oh, excellent. So you want to do heads the horror comedy and tails the martial arts horror?
Yeah.
All right. Let's
All right.
give it a shot.
Tails.
All right.
All right.
Tails.
It's a Silent Rage. With Chuck Norris.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Nice.
Our first Chuck Norris movie. I cannot wait.
Supposedly it's horror.
All right. I'm game. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So My Boyfriend's Back. Just One of the Guys. And what's yours again?
Silent Rage.
Silent Rage. Okay. Silent Rage. Got it.
Cool. Legacy of Rage and then Silent Rage.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. Nice little segue. That's perfect. All right. Okay. Well, anything else either one of you guys want to say? Or?
I think so.
I think that about does it.
All right. Cool. Well, hope you enjoyed. I know it's kind of an unusual episode,
Yeah.
No horror this time, but sometimes it's okay to take a break from horror movies, So
Yeah.
I don't know. In a way, Dr. Alien is horrific, but not really in the usual kind of way. But, anyway, so until next time, peace out and have a good day and have a good night and have a good life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
Yeah.
Later.
Take your vitamins.
Yeah.